everyone, I'm Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video is step number 1 in our little angel doll mini crochet along. What we're going to be doing is making this adorable little squishy angel complete with wings and braids, silly little face, and maybe even a crooked halo. She's super fun to make and super fun to give. She measures about 12 inches long, so she's not great big, and she stitches up relatively quickly. So today is step number 1, and we're going to be making the body, the head and the body dress part of our angel. In step number 2, we're going to be making the legs, the arms, the halo, and the wings. And then in step number 3, we'll put it all together. We'll stuff her. We'll add her stuffing inside, sew her arms and legs on, and just complete her face and hair, and everything be done in 3 steps. Now, the pattern is completely finished and all written out on the blog. And so if you want to go ahead and get the pattern, you can find that free pattern link down in the notes underneath this video. To make the little angel doll, you're going to need medium weight number 4 acrylic yarns. And I'm using all I Love This yarn for this project. You don't have to use this brand. You can use any acrylic medium weight number 4 yarns. I've got a red sparkle, a green sparkle for my accent colors. I'm going to be doing the main white in this white sparkle. This is a light taupe that I'm using for my skin tone, and I'm going to make her hair in gold. Now, I think it would be a lot of fun if you tried to match the skin tone to the person you're going to be giving the doll to, or the child. You can make the hair similar. If your child has black curly hair or blonde straight hair, you can make the hair look similar to the person you're going to give the doll to. And I think that would be a lot of fun. So I'm using this light taupe beige for the skin color and this gold for the hair. All right, so you're going to need approximately 1 ounce of the beige or skin tone. You're going to need about 2 ounces of your white acrylic. You're going to need just a small amount of red and green or whatever accent colors, less than a ½ ounce. And then the hair, you're going to need about 1 ounce, depending on if you want to add a bunch of curls or however you want to do the hair. I did the hair kind of simple, covering the head and then just adding those braids, but you can do it however that you desire. That's what this doll is about, is making it individual for the individual person that you're making it for. We'll be stitching all 3 steps with our H hook, which is a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. You're going to need some stitch markers because we're going to be stitching the body and the skirt and the legs and arms all in the round, and you'll need to mark those rounds as we go. You don't need a whole bunch, just a couple. Now I've got some stitch markers here, but there are other things that you can use for stitch markers if you don't have any. If you're stitching with white yarn, you can always take a piece of green and mark your rows with a piece of green yarn. You can use paper clips or safety pins or hair clips, whatever you have that you can use to mark your rounds. You'll need a needle for weaving in ends and sewing on arms and legs and the hair, things like that. And then you'll need a pair of scissors. The last thing you're going to need is a little bit of polyester fiber fill, and that's to stuff the body and the arms and legs of your angel. You're not going to need but just a couple of ounces, maybe 6 at the most. It depends on how tightly you want to stuff your angel. We're going to begin with step 1, and we're going to make the head and the body portion of our angel doll. So we'll be making the head in the flesh tone and then the skirt portion in our white with some added color at the bottom. All right, so we're going to begin with our flesh colored yarn, and again, use any color that you like in any shade for whoever you're making your doll for. We're going to begin with a slip knot, and we're going to chain 2 chains. 1 and 2. Now we need to have our stitch marker ready, so I'm going to go ahead and grab one of my stitch markers. Alrighty, now we're going to stitch 4 single crochets in the second chain from the hook. So we don't count the loop on the hook, so 1, 2. So we'll go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through both of those. So there's 1, 2, 3. We'll move that tail of yarn out of the way, and 4. Now I'm going to mark that 4th stitch because we're not going to join, and I need to know where the last stitch of my row is. Alright, so now let's do row 2. We're going to go into the next single crochet and we're going to stitch 2 single crochets. 1 and 2, and then we'll stitch 2 in those last remaining 3. 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to move our stitch marker, stitch our 2 stitches, 7, 8, then we'll put our stitch marker back. And we know that that's our last stitch, and for row 2 we have 8 stitches. And now for row 3 we're going to do the same thing. We're going to place 2 single crochets in each of those 8 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We'll take our stitch marker out. 15 and 16 single crochets, and we'll place our stitch marker back in. And so now for row 3 we have 16 single crochets. Alright, now we're going to do row 4. For row 4 we're going to place 1 single crochet in the next stitch and 2 in the next. 1 and 2. So that's 3, 4, 5 and 6, 7, 8 and 9, 10, 11 and 12, 13, 14 and 15, 16, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and then in our last stitch, 23 and 24. So now we have 24 single crochets, and I'm going to mark my last stitch with my stitch marker. Now for row 5 all we're going to do is place 1 single crochet in each of those stitches around. Alright, so just 1 single crochet in each single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Oops, my stitch marker came out. Oopsie. And then there's 24 single crochets. Don't lose your stitch marker because you'll forget where you're at. Luckily, I was close to the end when that happened. Now, what I want you to do, I'm going to pull my loop out a little bit so I don't lose my loop. I'm going to turn it over, and at this point, I'm going to go ahead and weave this end in and make sure that I don't have a hole in the top of my head. So I'm just going to close that up and weave that in. All right, now I'm just going to clip that. So now we're going to turn this over, and this is the outside of our angel's head. This is the inside. And what we're going to do for 6 more rows is we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those 24 single crochets around, and we're going to be repeating row 5 for 6 more rows. I repeated those 6 rows, stitching 1 single crochet in each single crochet around. And what I do when I have lots of rows that are the same, I'll leave my stitch marker and then I'll add another stitch marker and move it up as I go, and then that way I can count my rows just a little bit easier. Just something that I do to help me. I'm going to go ahead and remove this stitch marker. And what we're going to do now is we're going to cut our flesh tone yarn and bring in our white. This is for the dress or the body of our angel. To bring in our angel's dress color, what we're going to do is we're going to unstitch that last single crochet, and we're only going to go in and pull up a loop. We'll have those 2 loops on there that are in our beige color. We're going to bring in our white for our dress and finish off that single crochet. All right. Okay, now we're going to stitch around the neck, and we're going to stitch 1 single crochet in the next stitch and 2 single crochets in the next. 1 single crochet in the next stitch and 2 single crochets in the next. And this is going to cause it to flare out a little bit at the neck, so we have shoulders for our angel. All right, so we're going to continue stitching around, stitching 1 single crochet in the next and 2 single crochets in the next. And we'll repeat this, working all the way back around till we get to our stitch marker. So we stitched our first row of our angel's skirt, stitching 1 and 2, 1 and 2 all the way around. Here's my stitch marker, and you're going to have 36 single crochets. All right, so now for the next row, we're going to stitch 1 single crochet in the next 2, and then 2 in the next. 1 and 2. So 1 single crochet in the next 2 single crochets, and then 2 single crochets in the next. And this is our repeat that we're going to repeat all the way around, is 2 and 2. That's not a technical term. It's just something that helps me remember what I'm supposed to be doing. All right, so 1 single crochet in the next 2 single crochets, and then 2 single crochets in the next, working all the way around our angel's dress. I completed that row, stitching 2 and 2, 1 single crochet in the next 2, and then 2 in the next. So we have 48 single crochets. And what we're going to do for the next row is we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those single crochets around. And we're going to start forming the bottom portion of our angel's dress. So for this row, which is row 14, we're going to single crochet in each of those single crochets, working all the way around our angel's dress. And we'll do this all the way around till we get back over here to our stitch marker. I stitched row 14, one single crochet in each of those stitches around. And now what we're going to do is we're going to repeat row 14 for 10 more rows. One single crochet in each of our single crochets around for 10 more rows. I repeated those 10 rows of one single crochet in each of those single crochets around. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take this stitch marker out because again, I left one there and then I used this one and moved it down for my 10 rows. Again, it's just a way to help me count the rows. What we're going to do for our next row is we're going to bring in another color just for some pop of color. And we're going to leave our color 2, which is our dress color, our white, attached. And I'm going to bring in the red, and we're going to do like we did on the beige down here when we brought the white in. We're going to take out the stitch. We're going to go in, pull up that loop, and then finish that stitch with our new color. There we go. We're going to leave our white attached, and then there's our red. And all we're going to do for this row is just stitch one single crochet in each of the single crochets around, just like we've been doing, only we're using this bright sparkle red for a touch of color. Now, you can use pink, purple, orange, yellow, whatever colors that you want to. But I'm making a Christmas angel, and so I'm using some Christmas colors. But you can use any colors that you want. And it doesn't have to be just for Christmas that you make an angel. All right, so one single crochet in each of the single crochets around. So I stitched that row of red, one single crochet in each stitch. I'm on my last stitch, and I'm going to bring back in my white, and I'm going to cut my red because I'm going to do a row of green after I do this row of white. All right, and so I'm just going to go right in the next stitch and stitch one single crochet in each of those single crochets around, just like we've been doing. So another row of single crochets. I stitched another row of that white. Now we're at the end of this row, and I'm going to bring in my next color, and we'll do it the same way. I'll bring it in on those last two loops of the single crochet before. We'll get everything snugged down. Make sure I get the right piece of yarn there. All right, and now I'm just going to repeat another row of single crochets, but this time I'm using the green. And this is what makes my Christmas angel look Christmassy. I think it would be beautiful to be done with silvers or gold yarn as well. All right, so just another row of single crochet, only stitching in my green color all the way around. I completed that green row of one single crochet in each single crochet. So I'm going to cut off the green yarn. We're going to bring our white back in like I did here on the last two loops of that last single crochet stitch. And now I'm just going to stitch one last row of one single crochet in each of those single crochets around. And then we'll be finished with part one of our mini angel crochet along. I completed that last row of single crochet. We're going to come over here and just slip stitch in that next stitch. We're going to cut that yarn. We're going to go in that next stitch and pull that loop to the inside. And we'll take the stitch marker out because we're done with it at this point. And this is our, turn her this way. This is the angel's head, and this is the angel's skirt portion. And we just need to take a few minutes and weave in our ends and tidy it all up. and we'll be finished with step number 1. We've completed the head and the dress of our angel. Step 2 will be the arms, the legs, the wings, and the halo. And then on step number 3, we're going to stuff the angel, assemble the angel, and add all the little details like hair and face. She is going to be an adorable angel.